Okay, hello and welcome to Untitled Anarchist Seagull channel. I'm your host, an Untitled Anarchist Seagull. Gonna get started with some Geoguessr as per usual. Okay, this looks like US or Canada right off the bat. I don't see a mailbox. The mailboxes are low specificity. There are states in the US and Canada where they don't have them, but you pretty much never see them. Hello, Hail Satine. Good to see you. I'm pretty good. Had a very annoying conversation earlier that I'm still trying to recover from, but generally pretty good. Okay, yeah, we got a mailbox. It's one of those moments where I sort of realized that a lot of people don't actually give any thought to where the statistics that they see actually come from and how they're arrived at. And it results in, yeah, I thought it was Canada. It's Canada. We're someplace in Canada. God. And it just resulted in the most irritating conversation possible. But otherwise, it was a good day. Okay, all this flatness and all this farmland is making me think Saskatchewan. What have we got here? Nothing that actually really helps me. Granted, there are parts of Ontario that look like this too. Belhaven. Okay, we know this town, but we don't know the province. Probably 100 Belhavens in Canada. Okay. Warden Avenue. Superior. I mean, if that's a reference to Lake Superior, which is not at all impossible, but not at all guaranteed, then we'd be talking Ontario versus Manitoba. .905 area code. That does not help me. Natural stone sales, shoreline construction. Interesting. $79. Okay. That doesn't really narrow it down, and that shape is the same across all provinces, and probably territories as well, so that doesn't really help either. So, gonna have to wait for more specific indicators. Oh, I see chat is starting to fill up. Hello, good to see everybody. This guy actually says to me, But what does testing have to do with COVID statistics? Like, as if the two things were totally unrelated. He was very confident that he was asking a totally sensible rhetorical question. And it's like, well, how the fuck do you think they arrive at those statistics? People test positive in a clinical setting, and it's reported, and then those data are compiled. Kind of Georgina? Okay, Georgina and Belhaven. Two town names we've got, and Route 79. Okay, let me see. Maybe we get lucky and we find Ontario Route 79 and... it just happens to be over by Belhaven. Ah, Hornpain. I spent 45 minutes there years ago. $79. I guess Manitoba is certainly a possibility, looking at that place. And shoreline construction would also fit, since Manitoba's full of lakes. Hmm. 83. But other than that annoying conversation, it's been a good day. The Polyglot Conference has begun, and I'm enjoying that. Right, okay, what about Alberta is also... Saskatchewan and Alberta are also possibilities. 47... Oh, hold on, we got... Wait, 289. Got my anti-allergy spray. And I'm feeling allergized. Okay. Boyers Road. And there's water in that emblem. So there may be a lake nearby. Or, I mean, I guess it could be out in the Maritimes. Though it doesn't feel like the Maritimes. Hmm. Okay. Parkview Simcoe. Okay, that starts to feel a little bit more Ontario-like. Oh. 7A. How's your day been, Hail Satine? $49, 20, 46. Government Road. $69, $68, $66. Cardiff. I'm just gonna have a wild one. 180 kilometers, not too bad. Oh, hell, yeah, I was actually not too... When I saw Simcoe, I thought Toronto. 4433, not too bad. Experience Virtual Golf 1.8 miles. Yeah, I'm gonna say we're probably in the US. Oh, hold on. That might have had an interstate number on it. Exit 210. And immediately it says tobacco and fuel. That suggests to me that we're in a state on the state near the state line that people often go to because of cheap cigarette prices. Canada, I mean not Canada, Kentucky, Indiana, for example. Ah, that's a good point, Jill. How you doing? Camano, Everett, San Juan, Maple Valley, Goldendale. Angel of the Winds Casino Resort. Ah. You know what I like to hear about. I love Parmigiano Reggiano. My prize cheese grater broke on me. The best cheese grater I've ever had. The damn thing broke on me. So now I have to see. It should be within warranty. I-5. Northbound on I-5. $84. I-5. Stockton, Thornton. Okay, let's see if we can get some more specifics now. There were a couple of place names not too far back. Now that we know it's in California, possibly Northern California, we might well be able to narrow it down a bit. Angel of the Winds Casino Resort. Yeah, I mean it's northbound I-5, so I assume Pacific Northwest. Exit 212 on the I-5 northbound. Camano, Everett, San Juan, Maple Valley, and Goldendale are the place names we've got. Blackwell's Corner, Kettleman City, Turk, Oroloma, Santanella, Crow's Landing. There's a town called Lard. Manteca, that's lard. Interesting name for a town. YOLO, Zamora, Hershey, Harrington, Wyo, Kirkwood. So Dunsmuir, Mount Shasta, Weed. It's just a town called Weed. Okay, I-5 goes all the way, starts in LA. So let's start a little bit earlier. Bower Bank, Spicer City. Hey, Phoenix Rising, how you doing? Trying to find exit 212 on northbound I-5, and so far having trouble with that. Because it's only the length of California and then some. Okay. We need more data. Yeah. Well, are there casinos in Washington or Oregon? So I know California's got a couple. Medford Buncombe. That is a tendency I've not heard of before, Buncombe. Myrtle Creek, Canyonville. Tangent, Tallman, Crabtree. Portland. Okay, so basically then anywhere from LA to Canada this can be. That does kind of cut down on the odds of just finding it randomly. Now we're all the way up to Bellingham. So... Nugent's Corner, or Nuge Corn, as I call it. Okay, so let's see if we can gather more data on here. Camino Island. Oh, we are in Washington. Washington, exit 212 is Washington State Highway 532. And Camino is an island. Or Camano. Camano Island, 532. Okay, here we go. It's around Smoky Points. It's the nice thing about interstates in Geoguessr. Eventually you will get the information you need. .3 kilometers, not bad. 49.86. There we go. Ah, I miss Vancouver. Real Vancouver, not a decoy Vancouver in Washington. I will have to go back. My immediate feeling is that this is Russia. And Между, yeah, Russian. I mean, sector. International sector. Международный сектор. This is an airport, I think. Зал прилета внутренних авиалиний. That is domestic arrivals. Кассы. Okay. So we're in an international airport in Russia. I have a way better chance of finding this than I do usually when we end up in Russia. I mean, this could be Sheremetyevo, it could be Demidyevo. I mean, those would be really handy things for it to be, since those are both in Moscow. ...2019, we elect the future. Oh, okay, we got a site map. I like a site map. Chelyabinsk. We're in Chelyabinsk. Okay, let me see. I heard you. I can't. I'm on air. Okay, so Chelyabinsk International Airport. Okay. Оренбург, Челябинск. Козырьево, Корейск, Копейск, Ленинский район, международный. Триск, Советский район. Янда. Тракторской. Northern Doors. Окей. Где-то просто в Челябинске. $15 kilometers, not bad. 49.49. Berkshire Autos. Okay, we're just outside of London then. Up in the area of Reading, Slough, and other places that are not particularly memorable. Rural Berkshire, but probably not too far off the M4. Ah, hell. Okay, we can just skip. Okay. The Diana Brimblecombe Animal Rescue Center. Okay, let's get some sort of major road. No access for M4 project Wokingham. Okay, we're in Wokingham by the M4. There we are. Hound Lane and Lines Road. Ah. 3.1 kilometers, not bad at all. Okay, and this looks sort of vaguely South American, but it could be elsewhere as well. Posto Soberano. Okay, yeah, we're in Brazil. Natal. Natal premiado. Okay, oh, so this is around Christmas. I don't really follow Brazilian politics that closely. It's not impossible. In fact, I'm somewhat embarrassed to admit that I don't actually know who he's standing against. And the U.S. has tended to be somewhat supportive of sort of centrist liberals who beat fascists in Latin American elections lately. I mean, like Boric, for example, like Petro. Just because they're people who are most likely to calm shit down. So it would depend on entirely on who wins, how likely that would be. I mean, who wins if not... Oh, Da Silva. Um, that's anyone's guess, really. Although, the last coup... Estádio de quê? Maldição. Curse. Láguas Pedras. I mean, the last coup was actually much more of a civilian sort of parliamentary coup through a bogus impeachment and then some bullshit charges. I mean, I think to a great extent, I think outright open military coups have kind of gone out of fashion because they're just too obvious. The thing these days is to do this stuff in a way that it seems like there hasn't been any interruption to sort of to the normal running of these regimes. Lago de Pedra. Okay. Where that actually is, I have no idea. So I'm just gonna say someplace in Brazil because it could take forever to get any specifics on Brazil. 1,000 kilometers off. Maranhão. 2446. Ah, not too bad. Not too bad. Cool. I didn't know any Brazilian cheeses. Okay. Now, I have beefed up my collection of chuds. We've got all sorts of stuff here. There's the best of Will Witt. He's the guy who you may remember if you were watching back when we looked at a video where on PragerU, where this guy was really pissed off that the new Lord of the Rings was going to have black people in it. That's Will Witt. That's his thing. Or we've got Zenderhold giving the whole mopping cult thing his traditionally sensitive treatment. We've got Democrat support for child sex changes backfires, sparking panic after Matt Walsh expose goes viral. That's from Tim Pool. And the Civil War is here, says Democrat media. Biden's speech celebrated as pre-war declaration by Dems. Or Vosh, who asks that could we please stop having the debate pro debate, and no, we can't. Okay. I mean, this should be... I have to say, I'm gonna just say content warning here. I mean... Oh, hey, Shakespeare. Because, I mean, this is, you know, cult shit, sexual exploitation, all sorts of fucked up things. And then on top of it, we've got Xanderhol's wonderfully sensitive treatment of these sorts of issues. Yeah, okay, let's do it.
Well, who would have thought that I would be correct once again?
I still don't think that. Oh, wait a second. I have to turn that volume up so you can hear his bullshit too. Otherwise, I'm suffering alone.
Who would have thought that would get proven right?
I never think that. I absolutely, I think most people who are familiar with you would be surprised if anything actually... Oh, I love it. I love it. In his chat, people are making the thought slime joke about Caleb Maupin. Knowing, I'm sure, just how little Caleb Xanderhole thinks of thought slime and vice versa. Oh, I've turned it up now. It shouldn't be low now.
That once again,
How is it
people
now?
who use the left and use progressive ideology as a shield to will oftentimes engage in abusive behavior.
Oh, yeah, who would have thought, Xander Hall? Who would have thought that people who use progressive ideology as a shield would engage in questionable, abusive bullshit behavior?
Who could have predicted this? Who could have done it? Who could have seen this coming?
Everybody could have seen this coming. This was obvious. Of course there was going to be fucked up shit. I mean, just his attitudes towards sexuality tell you that there was going to be some fucked up sex shit.
Who could have called something like this?
Lots of people, like everybody. Everybody who was paying attention.
Who? Who?
Me, for example.
In reality,
Thought Slime, fucking the Moppin Archive, probably the Serfs, like kind of everybody. I mean, this is not a flex to realize that there would be fucked up shit going on. God, he has pillows with his fucking ugly ass emblem on it. That's so.
this should not be a big shocker to you. Caleb Maupin, well-known tanky figure who.
See, and there I automatically. First of all, the trouble is that the term tanky has been deprived of meaning. But even if we take it in something resembling its conventional meaning, he's a different thing. In fact, he differs from, your average ML on all sorts of shit because he's fast. He's just trying to get, get fast shit access to left spaces. That's his whole thing. And how useless is Mr. I'm monetizing the fact that I'm an ex-fascist Xanderhole here, that he doesn't even point that out.
Who one time wrote a burn book that I believe mentioned me at one point.
No, actually, it did not mention him. It mentioned Vosh, so I can understand the confusion. It spent a significant amount of time on Vosh. Yeah, that was overall. I thought on the whole that was a good video. The one thing I would kind of differ from her on is I think talking about the conspiracy left kind of obscures what's going on, which is that I mean this is fast shit that is being given a little patina of leftist respectability. But the minute you start, looking at who's spreading it, it's Nazis.
It was like about all of BreadTube. I think it might have mentioned me by name at one point.
Oh God, he's so fucking. Yeah, he is so disappointed that he didn't get mentioned by name.
But when I covered the book, Caleb Maupin came into the chat himself, and it was him, to scream and about my coverage of the book. So that was.
Oh well, the thing is, there is a rare occasion where I probably would have to agree with him because your coverage almost certainly sucked. I don't remember seeing it, but I'm sure it did. I'm sure it was awful because you're just not very good at anything, Xander Hall. Oh, it's bisexual lighting.
Pretty funny. We literally I include in the video where I review the bits in his book, his ranting in my chat live as I'm reviewing it. And there's nothing like reviewing a book while the person who wrote it is screaming and angry live in your chat. And everybody's making fun of them. Everybody in the chat was making fun of them. It was honestly glorious, seriously.
See, if he actually did that, then he must know that his name was not mentioned in it. I haven't even heard of that meme. What is the meme?
If you wanna just absorb some Caleb Maupin molding, go watch that video. It's very, very good. Anyway, that was one of the first videos I ever edited for you, Lamal. Yeah, it was, Cherry. Anyway.
What, he actually edits this shit?
Caleb Maupin, tanky, Russian asset, many things I could call him.
See, the asset is also wrong. The point of an asset is that they're covert. Somebody who is literally working for Russian state television is not an asset. He's just somebody who's working for Russian state television.
However, a new label has been applied to our boy, and that is abuser.
That, some of us, again, that's not new.
Caleb Maupin has been accused of being an abuser. In this Medium article, some CPI, which is the name of apparently Caleb Maupin's, Caleb Maupin has a cult, and we're going to get into that in a little bit later. But yeah, a lot of this is coming.
So he doesn't even know what the CPI is. Okay, so he knows nothing about this, is what we're getting here. Yeah, it's actually, it's interesting lighting. It's easy on the eyes. It's not harsh, and I appreciate that.
From people that were in his cult. Now, to be clear, a lot of the people that are levying these accusations themselves are Nazbuls and Tanky.
Literally all of them are Nazbuls, because they're in a Nazbul group. I mean, some of them are very young and just kind of got sucked into this, probably not entirely realizing what they were getting involved with, but they're in a fucking Nazbul group. And, at least some of the ones who have actually supported the accusations are very much on, it's not that they're in any way questioning the ideology that he's fed to these people.
And whatnot. I don't necessarily have love in my heart for the political beliefs of many of the accusers in this case, but that does not mean that their accusations of abuse should not be taken seriously as
monetized as Xanderhole is
any
doing
other
here.
accusation would be. I'd hope that you guys take accusations seriously. That's what I've advocated for, consistently on my channel, taking them seriously. That doesn't mean believing them outright. It means exactly that, taking them seriously. And that's what we're going to be doing today. Now, apparently the evidence is pretty strong against Maupin here, but you better believe we're going to be giving it a good listen. And we're going to see if the evidence is strong and compelling.
Oh god, we're going to watch him try to analyze evidence? Yeah, I mean, he clearly does not know anything about any of this. He just heard about it, and now he's going to do a stream on it.
Compelling? And if Caleb Maupin is, on top of all of the other horrible things he is, also a sexual abuser. Now, this Medium article, thank fucking God, has TTS reading capabilities, because as all of you know, I am American, thus I have NA education and cannot read very well, so I'm going to go ahead and let the robot voice do it, and it is...
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's exactly what I can't think of anything worse than having a robot voice read somebody's account of fucking sexual abuse. That is...
Not because I'm lazy and do not want to read. I simply can't. It's not possible as an American. I cannot do it. So yeah.
And this is the thing that annoys the shit out of me. Vosh does this too. Where it'll be like, he, sort of uses his ignorance as a flex. Like, he doesn't know anything about... He does a whole thing, shtick where he doesn't know anything about Latin America, and he just, oh, well, I'm an American. It's like, yeah, but you're also somebody people listen to. You could take some time and learn about the shit you're telling people about before you tell people about it.
Here we go.
I mean... It's like... Yeah, I mean, that was a strange one, because he didn't say he was dyslexic or anything. But, he just sort of said he can't read very well, and he has attributed that to being from the U.S., which actually does have a pretty high level of functional illiteracy.
These are the sections of this that we're going to be taking a look at here. The robot guy is going to basically explain everything to us, and I will pause it when it needs to be and, give my input. But it's going to be very nice. It'll be like I'm reading it, only it'll be a robot man reading it instead. And he won't fuck up. Contents.
Oh yeah, I'm sure the robot will not in any way fuck this up. I mean, there's nothing that could possibly go wrong here.
Summary and information for the reader is the first section. The second section is Caleb Maupin's sexual misconduct, and that's broken up into 2 subsections, you see. 2 members accuse him of sexual...
And you have to remember, he's not in any way doing this for the clicks. It's nothing to do... The fact that he put, his thumbnail says, the spanky tanky, that's nothing to do with him just trying to exploit, a disgusting case of sexual abuse, for the clicks. That's that's him being sensitive and taking it seriously.
Misconduct, member 1 and member 2. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to be hearing both their statements. The next broader section is Caleb Maupin's general abusive and exploitative behavior, which is broken up into 4 subcategories. The first being Keaton Mansfield's statement, the third being Joey Shantz's or Yankee Tanky's statement.
Yeah, and Yankee Tanky is one who has shown up in supporting Haz. And Haz, it's worth noting, is a diehard defender of Muppet, and just absolute fash. I mean, there's no question about it. He doesn't even hide it, like, doesn't even try.
The third being DL's statement, and the fourth being Madeline's statement. So we'll be listening to all of these. The fourth one is corroboration from other members, and that's broken up into 3 extra segments. We're going to go ahead and listen to the whole thing, and yeah, I will give my input where it seems most necessary. Let's go!
Oh god, it's never necessary. Your input is literally never necessary. Nobody needs your input ever. Put a little bookmark in chat so I can actually see when new messages are showing up.
There's not really anything on the screen to see, but when an image that is relevant is brought up, like, right now it's just text, but when an image that is relevant is brought up, I will show it and we'll discuss it. So let's start.
Summary and information for the reader.
But, I mean, as little as I think of anyone who gets involved with Maupin's group, I can think of it's hard to think of a worse fate than having your fucking sexual abuse and exploitation raked over by a guy like this.
Bringing forward this statement was not easy for any of us, but there was no alternative to speaking the truth. It's our responsibility to stop abuse of power against comrades. Those of us who want to fight for the ideas of constructive, optimistic socialism and anti-imperialism and who have contributed to the Organization Center of Political Innovation have been betrayed by Caleb Maupin. Over the years he has subjected members of CPI to various forms of abuse and exploitation. He pushed his sexual desires on members who had considered him to be a leading comrade.
I believe CPI is the name of his little cult group, right?
Okay, you don't even know that? Jesus. Like... Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't give... This is just entirely... It's just clickbait. Right? Like, he hasn't even prepared. I mean, if you read anything to do... He didn't even have a look at this thing in advance, or he'd already know that CPI was his cult. Or if he looked at anyone else's coverage of this, he would already know that CPI is Muppet's cult. I mean, if you're paying any attention to Muppet at all in the past year, you know CPI's his thing.
His little tanky political organization. He apparently makes them wear promise rings.
No, he doesn't, and... yeah, no, what that is, and maybe they're good. I don't know if they're going to get into it, so let me just say, what he's talking about is Muppet got this, like, rare gemstone ring. I forget exactly what kind. It was something unusual in Iran. And then he decided he was going to give his inner circle the same rings, so they could all wear it, and they could be, the elite of the organization. And then one of them kind of decided that was actually fucked up even by the standards of an organization like this and decided not to continue doing it.
He brought his sexual impulses into political organizing. Caleb pushed a member out of CPI and its predecessor Students and Youth for a New America after she made clear that she would not do sexual favors for him.
Yeah, one of the things that I thought was very helpful in reading this was I had wondered exactly what the deal with Students and Youth for a New America was. It always seemed to show up in connection with Muppet, but I had never actually seen anyone say that it was literally, in continuity with the CPI, but apparently that we have that now.
Caleb paid a member for sex who he knew was economically desperate, and then went on to push them out of the group and slander them. Caleb Maupin has also targeted people in their teens with manipulative cult tactics in an effort to exploit their labor so that he can build himself up off their hard work and sacrifice, and then would go on to slander them behind their backs if they didn't do exactly what he wanted. The abuses Caleb Maupin committed could have also done tremendous damage to all of us by discrediting all who associated with our political position. Despite these revelations,
Well, I mean, the trouble is your political position is kind of self-discrediting. The fact that somebody uses it as a cult is not actually discrediting. The whole thing, I mean, God, the robot voice. You don't need to hear this being read in a monotone.
now is not a time to despair.
He paid a hard-for-money member of his organization for sex and then kicked her out and shamed her to everybody else for it.
Well, I mean, that's actually not even as bad as it was, because the person in question, she was doing fine for money. Then Caleb Muppet actually manipulated a situation to get her fired from her job, knowing that that was what was going to happen because she told him. And then she tried to get some kind of just a regular job to replace the one she'd lost, and he kept giving her shit, saying, "No, you can't do that. You can't be living biologically, and only have one foot in the revolution." Which, I mean, by revolution, understand living 6 people to a motel room in fucking Jersey City. So the reason this person was actually financially hard up to begin with is because Maupin already fucked up her life completely.
That is some really, that is tanky behavior. That is definitely tanky behavior. I believe it.
Well, yeah, because you've expanded the word tanky to mean everything you don't like. You don't have... I mean, the term has absolutely no fucking meaning anymore.
Despair. It's a time to fight even harder for an optimistic socialism and anti-imperialism. It's a difficult reality for many to face, but Caleb Maupin's primary concern has not been advancing the cause of anti-imperialism.
That might be difficult for people in the CPI to stomach. Some of us have absolutely no trouble facing that reality.
Primary concern.
Hey, listen, guys.
Oh, good take incoming. When he pauses on anti-imperialism, there's a good take incoming.
At least now we know Caleb Maupin's not a virgin, right?
Yes, this is what I mean. He's doing it with his customary sensitivity and tact.
That was, for a long time, that was the only confirmed thing we could know. No, he's a virgin.
First of all, who gives a fuck if he is? I mean, who gives a fuck? You gonna shame people on whether they've been laid or not? I mean, that's already fucked up. But I mean, you're gonna interrupt a discussion of sexual abuse by this guy to say, "Oh well, now we know he's not a virgin." Seriously, fuck off.
Promise ring, yeah. He really is just... He really is the archetypal 40-year-old virgin, isn't he? He really, really is.
Oh, fuck off. Yeah, see, I was beginning to think he keeps on talking about we're going to be serious about this and everything. I'm starting to think, is he actually going to do that? Is he actually going to manage to go through an hour and 15 minutes without him doing some Xander holing? And it's 7.5 minutes and he's already completely kicked that to the bin.
Like, everything about him, from his appearance to the way he acts to the way he carries himself to how angry he gets at people on the internet, like, he really does just give off, like, 40-year-old virgin vibes, doesn't he?
Who gives a shit?
He just seems like the kind of guy who he was definitely stuck... Okay. I've seen pictures of Caleb Maupin when he was younger.
Yeah, I mean, see, I keep on for moments like this. I've been thinking of doing like a design, the notorious TFG for this fucking guy. Because, like, just this fucking guy. This is what he's decided to fucking talk about. This.
He got stuffed in many, many, many lockers, okay? It wasn't until he found his space in political organizing that he was able to get a bunch of other losers to count on him and then take advantage of them in order to.
Also, I mean, I'm not going to immediately write off these people. He like preys on people who are in their late teens, early 20s, and I remember. Because that you know, that's a long time ago for me, but I remember it well. I remember what it was like because that was when I was first like making my first steps into, you know, any kind of organized leftism, and the whole thing, you know, it's this huge, and I mean, some of you probably remember it to a certain extent, and maybe you remember it differently than I remember it. But to me, you know, it's this revelation that there are all these people who are working towards, you know, revolution and everything like that. And you can talk about these ideas with them and everything, and it's fucking incredible, and you think everybody's amazing, and you don't, you know, and it's years before you start realizing actually there are a lot of complete assholes. I mean, there are a lot of organizations that are just complete grifts. There are a lot of people who absolutely suck shit. There are lots of people who are in it for completely cynical motives. But when you're like 18, 19 or something like that, and you're really just first getting involved in it, you don't see that. So I'm not going to call these people automatically losers who are getting in this when this is, you know, some of them they say it's like their first steps into any kind of political organizing is this. And his whole thing is designed to sucker people who don't understand the signs of you know, who can't really tell the difference, who hear somebody talking about anti-imperialism and throwing words like communism around and think that that makes him a communist. So, I mean, I'm not going to call somebody like that who just got, you know, who got suckered by something like this at that age a loser. He knew, the thing is, guys like this know how to pick up. Guys like this test people out constantly to see who's going to challenge them and who won't. And people who challenge them are out. And people who don't feel confident to challenge them, people who aren't knowledgeable enough to challenge him, they will stay in. And I mean, the first step of that, in his case, is that he's always been working with people way younger than him. He's like the fucking Leo DiCaprio of political organizing. He keeps getting older, and the age of the people who he organizes with stays the same, because those are people who are naive enough to fall for his shit.
You know, get ahead. It's the type, you know, he's using his power that he has now to feel the type of power he probably didn't feel when he was younger, and he's a fucking loser.
Oh, I mean, that's just wonderful that we get to hear psychoanalysis from Xanderhole. I mean, but yeah, please tell me more. Give me some free associations. Would you like to interpret my dreams for me, Xanderhole?
You've always known he was a loser, but this really just takes the cake, I think.
Concern has been self-gain at the expense of others. However, our goal is not to make an overly simplified picture of Caleb Maupin or to demonize him unjustly. Our statements give credit where it is due, but at the same time they demonstrate his abusive behavior very
How many different things is he sucking on in one stream?
clearly. The following statements from CPI members will show in detail how all of this was the case. If you would like to get in contact, or if you have any questions, please direct them to centerforpoliticalinnovation@gmail.com. The two members who were victims of Caleb's sexual misconduct wrote their statements in pseudonyms to protect themselves from any retaliation or harassment.
Just
Please respect their
bookmarking
privacy.
chat.
If you have any evidence of Caleb's further abuse, please come forward. 2. Caleb Maupin's sexual misconduct. 2a. Member 2 statement. When I first met Caleb, I was 19 years old, living on my own for the first time, and paying.
Yeah, see, I mean, these are young people. These are people who haven't got the kind of experience that really leads to knowing how and when to be skeptical about an organization. I mean, if somebody had, you know, because, I mean, if you read the full statements, I mean, he is just all about, look, telling these people, oh, you're totally, you know, you're the right people, you got the stuff to actually, so we could build communism and whatever. And, I mean, you're 18 or 19 and naive, and somebody who has deliberately positioned himself to look like every authority figure you've ever dealt with in your relatively young life is telling you that they think you're the one or something like that. It is very hard to completely resist that, and I mean, unless you have the experience to say, yeah, this sounds like bullshit. But, you know, I mean, he has cultivated a persona that is designed to be looked up to specifically by people, young and naive people. I've been saying for a long time now that his persona, it looks like a junior high vice principal, and yeah, I mean, somebody like that, I mean, an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, early 20s, somebody like that, it has not completely shaken of all the bullshit they've picked up from school. And they're going to look at somebody like that and is saying stuff like that, and he sounds really serious. He does serious really well. I mean, as like a bit, he isn't a serious person, but he manages to look serious. When somebody like that says, "Yeah, you're the sort of person I want in my organization," I think that you and I are going to work really closely together. I think we're going to achieve great things or something like that. That's hard to resist. I'm not going to hold it against any of these people who got sucked in like that. There are other people in the organization who clearly knew exactly what they were getting into and were experienced enough to know. Oh, I was wondering what the hearts were. I thought you just loved what I was just saying.
Paying my rent with my own paychecks while going to school full time. I was in a very vulnerable place socially and financially. At the same time though, I considered myself to be more mature than my peers because of how independent I was compared to my other political science classmates and because I was one of the only communists. When I met him, a prominent YouTuber and accomplished journalist over a decade older than me,
Accomplished journalist. Well, I mean, he's published. I guess that counts.
who treated me like his intellectual equal, he made me feel intelligent and important, especially since he would frequently take me out to dinner where we discuss our political ambitions and the think tank he wanted me to help him build, the Center for Political Innovation.
See, I mean, you're 19 years old, you're just getting into this shit, you don't know any other communists. Somebody like that comes up to you and, gives you this sort of a line. Of course it's gonna be hard not to fall for that. Oh, well, thank you for saying so.
Beginning in 2019, we would have dinner together at least once a month, and sometimes during those dinners, he would bring up, what I assumed at the time was, his academic interest in corporal punishment, especially spanking. As time went on, we became
Well, okay, we're gonna get some real sensitive shit from Xander Hall now. He's gonna be very serious and sensitive and recognize that he's talking about somebody else's trauma now. I can just tell. It's fucked up. I mean, I'm so glad that nobody actually took that kind of. I mean, nobody tried to pull that kind of shit with me, for one thing. I got lucky. The people that I worked with, I worked with some assholes. Yeah, he is a cult leader of manipulating vulnerable people. I dealt with some assholes early on, but, there were enough people who were sincere and honest and, you know, were in it, I think, for the right reasons, who weren't trying to fuck around with me, and also I already really distrusted pretty much every authority figure anyway. But yeah, yeah. But if like somebody like that, and had tried to target me, I could have fallen for it. I almost fell for a couple of people in other areas of life who were like that, who would, use the line, that I'm something special or something like that, and you know, totally use people, use your ego against you and shit.
closer and closer friends, which led to him confiding in me in 2020 during the beginning of the COVID pandemic that his academic
Where's
special
this
interest
going?
was, in fact, a sexual one. He even told me that he would engage other people in conversations about corporal punishment and spanking because it turned him on to do so. When we became closer friends,
Oh wow, the sensitivity is just exuding. He's exuding sensitivity. We're just getting completely bukkake with sensitivity right now.
in 2021, he finally admitted to me that he would masturbate to the thought of roping unsuspecting people, especially women, into
This is a wonderful voice to be hearing this fucked up shit in.
these conversations about their experiences with being spanked and other forms of physical abuse.
Okay.
This is really fucked up, but I'm trying so hard not to laugh.
Oh, well, which is the part that's... what he said is really fucked up, but what you're doing is really fucked up, too. It's all really fucked up. You're an exploitative, parasitic asshole who's laughing at the words of the victim of another exploitive parasitic asshole. Yeah. Well, I got lucky there in terms of the warning. I mean, because I read Mad Magazine when I was in primary school. And there was a thing about the Moonies, and it led to a conversation with my mom, my sister, and me. My sister was 2 years still is 2 years younger than me. Um, about cults and how you how you can recognize people who are trying to manipulate you that way. I was like 7 or 8 years old, and I was hearing that, and I really internalized that, and I really paid very close attention, and spent a lot of time kind of studying those sorts of dynamics too. So, I mean, I did have a little. I got lucky there that I had, a little bit of intellectual preparation for what that was like. Viejo verde.
At how pathetic that is.
O sea,
This man
milico?
has admitted to masturbating to stories of women talking about being spanked.
No, no, no. He is admitted to masturbating to his recollections of women telling him about it. And, of course, they had absolutely no idea that that was his whole point in bringing it up. Because he's a prick. And, I mean, he's just overjoyed. Look at him, because he's a prick, too. They're both pricks. They deserve each other.
Oh my fucking god. That's all I needed to hear. That's all we needed, dude. That's all we needed. Oh my god. Go back to 10 minutes ago when I didn't know this.
God.
You guys have missed a lot. Those of you who just got back, Jesus. Okay.
Abuse. I tend to be a very open and sexually liberal person, so I don't really mind when my friends discuss their sex lives with me in a platonic way. As a matter of fact, I was honored that Caleb supposedly trusted me enough that he was willing to share
Caleb.
that part of his life with me. However, I was still under the impression that he was interested in
Oh, well, because he's a horrifying little shit. He thinks this is funny because a political enemy of his is involved in kinky things, and it reveals him to be also a huge hypocrite. I mean, and it's like, there's so many things you have to actually tease out in talking about the whole thing. What are viejo verde? Are we talking like milico? Are we talking like ecologista? Ambientalista? Like what kind of people are we talking? But I mean, because it's like on the one hand, there's the fact that these people are associated with a fucked up ideology in a fucked up organization. There's the fact that they are nonetheless victims of some seriously fucked up abusive behavior. And then there's the fact that the way he abuses, and then there's the fact that he has this fucking spanking kink, and there's the fact that he uses it to abuse people. And you have to actually be very careful in exactly how you're going to talk about it, just because, I mean, you don't want to just shame people for, being consensually kinky. Oh, ya veo. Un pajero. Un pajero. En Venezuela le dicen viejo verde. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, because it's like, if somebody's interested, if somebody has a spanking kink, that's their thing. That's not something that I think that people should be shamed for, as long as they're not doing it in a fucked up way like this guy is.
in me as a platonic friend and comrade, nothing else. Which is why I continued to participate in CPI's conferences and events, including facilitating CPI's California conference for him in September 2021, which entailed Caleb and I traveling together and sharing a hotel room and transportation.
Oh,
Back
no.
then, I was working for a
Caleb sounds like an asshole robot from Futurama.
Oh no. I already know what's gonna happen. Second I heard required us to share a hotel, I already know where this is going.
Oh god, I don't really give a shit.
Fuck.
a math tutoring company. Caleb knew that this job was incredibly important to me, and that I needed the income to pay off my student loans and other financial expenses. I only agreed to go to California with Caleb under the condition that I would be able to work on the Monday we left because I had already been assigned a shift that day. When I first asked him, he told me that wouldn't be an issue because the conference was from Friday.
Oh, you see, he's so sensitive. You look in the top left of your screen, you will see that he's got a poll going. Guess if Caleb wants one to be spanked by mommy, wants to be the spanker. And I mean, because we're talking about abuse, and it's important to take it very seriously and be sensitive in the way you handle it. And so he's got a fucking poll going.
To Sunday, so that Monday I could work after we checked out of the hotel. Nonetheless, when Monday rolled around, Caleb insisted that he wanted to have lunch at a Mexican restaurant before we left and refused to get me a separate Uber to get to the airport early to work. Since I couldn't complete my shift in the restaurant, I ended up missing it and losing my job as a result.
This is what I was saying earlier. He basically, knowing that he was going to get her fired, he got her fired. And that is what causes this downhill spiral in her life that he then benefits heavily
Though I told him this is exactly what would happen and explained to him the many reasons why I couldn't afford to lose my job, when I did get fired, Caleb insisted that I will be okay and that we, himself and CPI, will not abandon you. Little did I know that when Caleb reassured me he'd help me find
God, I know, those are people you want to be abandoned by. Those are people you, should beg to be abandoned by.
another job, he didn't necessarily mean another tutoring gig.
He made her, or made them, reliant on him. That's what he did. Financially and emotionally, They lost their job. And so now, oh, you've got me and this entire organization now backing you up.
And okay, that's just literally what you read. You haven't actually, this isn't your analysis. That's literally what you just said.
But that also implicitly means I'm all you got now. I'm your only option you have. That's basically what the implication is, right? At least that's what I'm getting.
Gig. The main conflict between Caleb and I that arose after I lost my job was this. I'd started living in Jersey City with the John Brown Volunteers in August 2021. So
the John Brown Volunteer, I mean, they are so fucking exploitative. They even decided to use a name that would be easy to confuse with, another organization, because there is the John Brown Gun Club, I think it is, something like that. And so when I started hearing about John Brown Volunteers, I thought that was somehow connected to that, but actually it's nothing to do with that. It's these people who go around door to door begging in Jersey City, and Caleb Maupin keeps the money.
So I had been paying $200 per week in rent to Caleb to cover my portion of the $600 per week hotel cost. Before I moved in, Caleb had been
a fucking hotel as a long-term living arrangement. Like, who comes up with that shit? I mean, even if in Jersey City, which is going to be cheaper than New York certainly, but can't be that much cheaper because it's right there. It's immediately Manhattan adjacent. I mean, out of all of the sort of living arrangements you could come up with, a hotel that is easily the least cost-effective possible. That is, I mean, you're talking probably $50-$60 a night at least. Probably more than that because of where it is. I mean, how the fuck? And then you're gonna put 6 people in there?
been paying the exact same hotel rate for only Joey and Keaton to live there, but he told me I had to pay a third of the rent when I moved in because he was supposedly paying the rest of all of our expenses. Despite this agreement, I was paying the majority of the household expenses for the John Brown Volunteers because the only money we received to support ourselves was the half of our canvassing money we kept each day. Most of the time, we'd make about $30 $100 per day total. So when I lost my math tutoring job, Caleb still expected me to continue financially supporting the JBV while I also had to continue to pay for my student loans, which meant I desperately needed another source of income.
Yeah.
Guys, I talked about this with the Black Hammer House story. I talked about this when the story about the Black Hammer House came out. The left is filled with people who are vulnerable and, frankly, easy to exploit.
Yeah, it's your business model, Xanderhole. We know you know that.
And there are exploiters out there.
Yeah, there are exploiters out there, says man who definitely isn't exploiter but makes money off of nothing more than the fact that he used to be a fucking
Caleb
Nazi.
Maupin was one of them.
Caleb Maupin still is one of them.
There are a lot of abusers who get by on the left completely unscathed.
I'm looking at one right now.
because they use progressive messaging, whether it be they're a tanky who uses communism as their shield, or a Nazbul who uses like
Well, I mean, no, Nazguls use communism as their shield.
super anti establishment politics or populism as a shield, or hell, even a woke scold who uses like their
God, he's still using that as if it's an actual thing rather than a figment of Ben Shapiro's fucking imagination.
identity, or their even just being in favor of a certain identity as their shield for their against criticism for their abusive behavior. There are people who do this. This is not going to be the last time, and it's not the first. My nose do be itching though. CPI had Black Hammer members show up at their event in support of Ghazi Kodzo. Oh, of course.
I mean, yeah, actually, when the whole thing with Black Hammer broke, Maupin was in the thick of it defending them. Yeah, he's not good with words. He doesn't know anything. His entire thing is that he attaches himself to Vosh's bum and eats the dingleberries. The people in his chat are just Vosh's dingleberries that, you know, Vosh has too many of them anyway, so he can just kind of clean him off. He's like the Vosh bidet.
There is a lot of crossover.
And Vosh doesn't know anything either. He's just more effective at looking like he knows
things. The people who believe this kind of stuff. Of course. Much like there's a lot of crossover between these people and Nazis. Who would have thought?
Well, between fascists and Nazis? Yeah, wow, that's surprising.
They act the same, they believe a lot of the same shit.
Income. Caleb expected me to spend even more time canvassing for the JBVs after I lost my job though, because he thought canvassing was a sufficient way of making money for myself and the organization.
I could have canvassed less so I could get another job, or he could have stopped asking me to pay the third of the rent since it seemed...
Well, just change the robot man's voice out of nowhere. I don't know why that happened.
I don't notice a difference.
Seemed unnecessary before I'd started living there.
But part of what Caleb wanted was for me to spend less time away from him and CPI, giving basically every spare second I had to being a dutiful member of the group. The day after I lost my job...
Yeah, I mean, this is just absolutely fucked.
But the math tutoring company, I told Caleb I wanted to try to at least find other part-time work. However, his reaction to that suggestion made it very clear that he didn't even see it as an option. He told me that I couldn't have one foot in living biologically and one foot in the revolution. This quote, which was part of a much longer lecture he gave about how I needed to devote even more time to our political work if I truly considered myself serious about it, was very hurtful considering I had just given up my job for Caleb and his organization. Yet,
yeah, I mean, that's the kind of piece of shit he is. And we are moving in towards the end of tonight's session, and I just want to thank everybody for showing up. It's just lovely to have so many people in chat. I love hearing about the cheese chill, and I think we're gonna keep going with this. I mean, even though it just requires a huge fucking content warning at every single moment on multiple different levels. But I do have to wrap up now. It was wonderful seeing everybody, and I will be back Friday at 11:30 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. Thank you so much, and have a good day. Well, night. Well, eventually a good day. Once the night ends.